What experiences or stories do you have in ministry that have impressed upon you the importance of eschatology? You've mentioned in the past, I've heard you say about how you taught Revelation once, right? Was that early in the 90s or maybe late in the 80s? And then you got to teach it here in the midst of COVID. What are some of the experiences that you've witnessed in your own life or in the lives of those around you that have said, you know, this eschatology stuff, this stuff matters?
Yeah, that's a great question. Of course, I have the benefit of having been on the other side of the fence for a good long time. You know, I grew up in that dispensational outlook and took it seriously. I remember when I was in college at Whitworth, this was when I was still pretty confirmed, my dispensational outlook, Hal Lindsey was speaking at a nearby campus. This was before he was very famous. He hadn't written his book, Late Great Planet Earth, or any of his other books yet. He was still with Campus Crusade for Christ. I liked Campus Crusade, and so a bunch of us got in a bus, and we rode about a mile, or I should say about an hour, to where he was speaking. This was, I want to say, in 1968. And it was, you know, he's a great speaker. And at that time, he was a young guy and these were college kids. And so it was kind of a rollicking good time, you know, and we all enjoyed it. But he gave his last lecture before we all went home the next morning on eschatology. And of course, he was at that point, he Dallas Seminary graduate. He was very much in that dispensational school. And he had put together quite a case for the fact that we were living in the end times. And that's what he wanted to leave as his final address to us college students. Well, I was a young, impressionable kid. I think I was a sophomore at that point. And he made a case that just blew me away. You know, it was from Ezekiel 37, Ezekiel 38, some verses he pulled out of Revelation, some, you know, comments from here and there elsewhere, strung them together like pearls on a string. And basically, he reached the conclusion at the end of this presentation that, of course, he did the obligatory, no man knows the day or the hour. He made that clear. But then he said, from what he was looking at in terms of geopolitics in the world, the Soviet Union, China, other geopolitical realities in the world in which we were living in 1968, he could not imagine that the return of Christ would be any later than 1975. He thought, of course, he believed a pre-tribulation rapture, and he believed that sometime between 1968 and 1975, the rapture would happen. He called it the Great Snatch, you know, he used that kind of jargon. And he convinced me, you know, I mean, I'm sitting there, a college student, there are 500 other I think he convinced everyone in the room. We all, you know, were pretty much convinced. And I remember thinking as I was riding home the next morning on the bus, why am I in college? If Christ is coming back in 1975, what a colossal waste of time for me to be going to class and studying all of this stuff that I should quit college, I should drop out, I should go preach the gospel on street corners, I should try to win as many souls as possible, because for crying out loud, Jesus is coming back, you know, and we're at the end of the world. And it's time to do kind of short-term adjustments in one's life.